Hey everyone. So today we are going to look into if-else conditions in C#, how we can define if-else conditions and where we can use if-else conditions. Okay. So let's see, first of all, let's see the syntax. How do we define an if statement? So I can say if, let's say 2 is greater than 1, this is an expression and this would evaluate to true value, right? In this case, what I want is I want to type console.writeLine true. And then if you want to execute something in a negative scenario, right? So in that case, what I can say is I can use an else block if false, right? So let's do a console.readLine. So let's run this. So now in this case, because 2 is greater than 1, so this expression is getting executed, right? And that's why you see true on the console and this is getting skipped. Okay, so let's close this. So in a if condition, this whatever comparison or whatever variable that you are using, whatever expression that you're using, it has to have evaluate as a Boolean value, right? So you can, let's define a bool variable. Let's say bool is true. Let's call it as is true. Initialize it with a value false. So I can also say, right? So this condition is definitely going to be, no, this would not get satisfied. So in this case, I should see false on the console. Okay, so that's how it's printing false on the console. Okay, so now that we have if conditions, right? So you can also have nested if else conditions. So inside this if, I can also check, I can have another if statement saying that, okay, if 3 is greater than, let's say 4, then run execute this particular statement, right? So this is an example of a nested if else block. So in this condition, if this is true, in that case this would get executed and then this would be evaluated. If this is also true, in that particular case this would get executed, right? So let's do one thing, right? Let's say int a equals to console dot read line. So let's take input from the user and we have to do a conversion here. So I'll say convert dot to int 32. Copy this. So let's take two inputs from the user, A and B. I'll just remove this. So let's say if A is greater than B, in that case, let's print A. I think in order to show you like nested if else block, let's take 3 inputs, right? So that we have multiple paths in the checks that we are doing. So let's say A, B, C. So if A is greater than B, what I'll print out is A is greater than B. Okay. And then if B is greater than C, then I can print out I'll also print out B is greater than C, right? Now, so if this is not true, what I want to print is, in this particular case, what would be the case? In this case, C would be greater than B, right? Okay, and if this is false, in that case, B is greater than A. So I'll say B is greater than A. B is greater than A. And I should have like another if condition here. So in this case, now B is already greater than A. So I'll check B is B greater than C. that is the case, so I'll print B is greater than C, else you get the idea. So now let's see what gets printed out based on like what no, the user gives the input from the console. So the first input, let me give 4, let's give 8, and let's give 2. Okay, so in this case B is greater than A, so 8 is greater than 4 and B is greater than C, right? 8 is greater than 2, right? These are the two outputs that are getting generated. Okay, so this is how you use nested if else block, right? Wherein you have multiple conditions and there's no limit, right? So within this if condition also, if you have more conditions, you can also have use more conditions here. So instead of using if else blocks, there's also a shortcut that you can use in C#. It's called the ternary operator. So let's say int greater equals to A greater than B. So if that is the case, in greater I want to store A, otherwise I want to store B, right? So this is same as saying that if A is greater than B, like for example this statement, and then the value of greater would become A. In the else condition, if that is not the case, the value of greater variable in this case would become B. Okay. So this is how we use if else blocks in C#, and we have also seen how we use nested if else blocks. And the only thing to keep in mind here, I think, is this expression that we use in a if block has to be a Boolean expression, right? So even if you are, let's say, calling a method or using a variable, the output of the operation that you're doing has to be a Boolean expression. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.